Join us for an enlightening experience where you will gain a deeper understanding of the purpose and essence of opening your eyes. This is your chance to enhance self-awareness and personal growth with a shift in perception that provides a fresh outlook on life. Embrace the journey from consciousness to superconsciousness. Coming live by Barrett Kunyan.
Here we are again. Brother Rob. Welcome to Bioactivator. It's really good to have your beautiful energy here coming live. I'd just like to take this opportunity to first of all thank Brother Dean from Global People's Monitoring System and Divine Plan, who helped the connectivity with connecting me to Brother Lee from Alkaline to Realize. And thanks to them, to the actual source, that we are here today. Brother Rob, the one truth.
Hello, yeah, the one truth. It's a very big subject, this subject. So where would you like to start?
We just have a phone call, which I've just turned off. I do apologize. Right, brother. The very fabric of our Bioactivator platform is in principle in line with the 6 base questions. What, where, when, how, who, and why we and all life exist. This is a huge question.
It is a big question. And there's so many facets to it. So the basis is where I started. So instead of going through the full story of how I did it or worked it out, I'll just show the patterns. Pardon?
We seem to be having a bit of echo. When I'm talking, how is it on your end? Is my voice echoing at all?
No, that's fine.
Yours is echoing a little bit. I'll get my son just to check on this, or if there's anybody else listening to that, if we can get some feedback that there's not too much distortion in Brother Rob's voice. But please continue, and I pray that it's okay. On my end, it's echoing a bit, so
I'll try the headphones out to see if that helps.
Okay.
Is that any better?
Yes, it sounds much clearer. Thank you for that. Let's see, we'll get on with that.
I'll take those out. So yeah, the patterns. Well, you got to start off with the questions. So the question is, well, you can ask the question. So why do you exist? So what's the point in creation itself? But for that question, you've got to understand what creation is. And the only thing you've got to go off is you. So if you start with you as the creation, and then all biblical stories or any creation story will start to make sense. You've got to start at the very beginning. So the creation story, you were created. So once you're able to work out that creation is simply talking about life itself, then you can look at the universe in the same kind of way. And as soon as you know that, you'll start to see the patterns. So the creation of the universe is the exact same pattern as the creation of a fertilized human egg. So once you're able to establish them thoughts or as a foundation, you're able to look at 3 fractals that will explain reality. So the first fractal being a cell, the second fractal being man itself. So you look at mankind to work out consciousness. And then after that, you've got the universe. And the universe is a cell. So once you look at these 3 fractals to work out consciousness itself, you can work out the pattern of the meaning of life or the point in life. So you've got to get the question of what created everything. That's easy to work out. Your entire existence only is in your head. So what you see, feel, think, share, smell, everything, you perceive in your head. So your existence is in your head. So consciousness, yeah, excuse me, the cat's jumping all over. So you know that consciousness is thought itself. Then you got to work out, so what controls thought? You know, the mind controls thought. So you've got the one mind. So the one mind's the creator. So you go, instead of God or anything like that, you just, the creator creates everything. And for that, you need a mind. So, you know, the creator is the mind. And I call that the one mind. And the reason I call it the one mind is because everyone has a brain, everything, even every cell has a brain. So if everything's got a brain, everything's controlling that brain, and we call that the mind. So instead of God or the creator, we'll just say the one mind is in every single brain, in every single cell, and that includes the universe. So you know that the one mind is the creator. And when you've established all these thoughts or the foundations, you can then start to work things out and follow the patterns. Many people have heard the mysteries of the mystery of seven, the law of seven. The importance of the law of sevens, it's important, but you've got to understand there's another 2 levels to that. And the reason you only use 7 is because the other 2 levels of consciousness, which that's what the 7 are much higher in frequency, so there is nothing physical for that. So you've got your 7 chakras, which represent the parts of the body or sections of consciousness. But the other 2 top layers are so high in consciousness that they're not within the body. So the 9 levels of consciousness are where I started to work it all out. The 9 levels of consciousness represent the zodiac, represent the luminaries. The zodiac is just the luminaries divided into positive and negative energy. So once you're able to work all this out, the rest of the questions slot into place: where, why, how, when, all that. So the why, well, if you're just using logic, you just got to use what you've got. So if you're the one mind, why would you create things? Well, the one mind's energy. It's just, it's like, you can call it nitrogen, you can call it a gas. That's the mind. The vessel, the body, the feminine part, that's the lower half of a wave. And that's where the melanin, because in a cell, everything's melanin. So you've got melanin gas, melanin fluid, and melanin solid. And those 3 parts are in a cell, and everything else is derivatives of those 3 things. So the melanin gas is the mind, the melanin fluid is the body. And the feminine energy is the melanin fluid. The melanin gas is the masculine energy, the top of a wave and the bottom of a wave. So you can say by the bottom of a wave, it's a compression, and that's why it fills with fluid. The top of the wave obviously can't fill with anything because it's the top of a wave, and that's the masculine energy, and that's why it's a gas. It's really, really simple. So once you're able to work these things out, you can understand like how it does it. So for that, you need the Taurus. You need to understand what the Taurus is. And the Taurus is what science has been working out as the atom. And they've struggled with it for many years, trying to work out what the atom is and how it works. The fundamental flaw with what they're doing is they say there's a gap between the nucleus and the outside of the atom. They say it's space and there's nothing there. And that's because they got rid of the ether. Once you get rid of the ether, which is the gas, the ether is the gas, and it's only within the firmament or within the bubble of the cell. There's lots of other bubbles within the Taurus, but they're luminescent and they become consciousness. So all the cells in the universe, or all the bubbles of light in the universe, what we call stars, they're all luminescent consciousnesses that then get projected onto the earth-brain plane where we are, into a vessel. So everybody really is below the plane of inertia as bubbles of light, and then they're projected into the center, into a vessel, to have an experience within the mind. So all experiences are experienced within the mind, in a head or in the brain. So you experience all your life within your brain, as does Gaia or Earth with the universal brain. So what we call God is the mind that's controlling this Earth and producing all the consciousnesses. Then we feel him as us, and you think that you're you. That's the ego. So once you can understand how it's done or uses the Taurus, the Taurus is created by sound waves or a resonance that then creates the Taurus, which is just if you imagine a spiral of energy spiraling and you join the ends together, it would then rotate on itself. And that's all it's doing. It's really, really simple. So the part of the atom, I mean, I've done other videos on this to explain this, so I don't go into too much detail. But the part of the atom that they are explaining as other things can be explained really, really, really simply. So the center of the plane of inertia, of the bubble in the center of the cell, is a cymatic pattern. That cymatic pattern is the Earth's surface. So once you understand the Earth's surface is simply a cymatic pattern, and you understand how cymatic patterns are created using sound waves on a flat surface, you'll understand how the Earth's surface changes over time as the frequency goes up, or the tone changes and goes up. And that's basically how the Earth's surface changes over time. And those changes are also represented by the levels of consciousness. As you rise up in consciousness, so does the universe. You do it in one lifetime, or so you would think, but it's not. It's represented for any one human over the lifetime of the universe. So you'll have many, 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 many lives before you'll reach the top level of consciousness within your vessel that you're in now. And that can only be attained at the last stages of the cell life, or the universal cell. The importance of this is because the universal cell is coming to an end, according to my calculations, all the patterns I see, October next year. The importance of this is simply, it's important, but it's irrelevant really, because everybody's on their own level of consciousness. So everyone's on their own evolutionary stage. So not all souls are going to reach the top levels of consciousness this time round. They'll just get reincarnated and have to go through all the cycles until they attain the top levels of consciousness themselves, within themselves. So this time's only really important for those that have attained the highest levels of consciousness, those that will be listening to these videos and looking for the truth. Those will find the truth, and they'll recognize it, it'll resonate with them, and they'll go to the center of the earth before the end to rise up. That's simply so you can stop the stop the reincarnation cycle. That's the point in life. That's the aim in life. You aim to end that cycle. You keep going around and around and around.
I was going to say, brother, thank you for that. Has it ever happened that we've been able to stop the reincarnation process?
Yes.
Has it? Yeah.
So just think of the universe as a single cell.
Right.
And all that cell does is it forms a cell or a torus, and at the end of its life, it collapses, and then it starts up again. So the Earth before the one we are in now, died in the exact same way that this one will. And it was birthed in the exact same way that this one was. So the end of the last cell life, it ended in the plasma event. That plasma event destroyed the Earth, and it started again within the waters. And that's the evolution of consciousness. So it goes from water, the baptism of water is within the womb, the baptism of fire is on the earth. That's the two baptisms, that's what they actually represent. And when you're in the womb, obviously consciously, you're within the waters of the womb. So the vagina, you can call it the vagina if you want, but it's Isis. The feminine consciousness rules that existence. But when you're in the womb, consciously, you're in the womb as a consciousness for billions of years. Yeah. So from a single cell until you're birthed, your consciousness, from your point of view, is there for billions of years, evolving consciously. Outside, from our point of view, it's 9 months. Yeah. But from your point of view, on the inside, in the cell, it's billions of years passes. Wow. So it goes from a single cell to multiple cells, and then you become a human. And then you're birthed. Well, the universe goes through that same cycle. So at first, the first three stages are in the womb or in the waters. And then we get birthed, or the sun is birthed. The sun is the pineal gland, so it's consciousness. It's light. And that's why you have 2 eyes, so you can see light. That's division. Before that, it's unity. There's only the moonlight, and there's only one point of looking. So you're always looking through the mind's eye because your eyes are closed in the womb. You're using your imagination, and you're seeing light from the inside, not the outside. And then you're birthed. At that point, consciousness takes over on the earth as man is the ego. So everything before that stage, so before the Atlanteans, because they were the fourth stage or the fourth root race, everything before that was perfect and good. And then the ego came along on the fourth stage, Atlantis sank, Mars took over, and it all went to fuck. It just gets bad after that, really bad by the get to this stage. So as the universe will get destroyed, what it's actually doing is being reborn. So it's wiping out the ego dies, just like it would do with you if you died. The ego dies. You don't die because your consciousness. So the consciousness goes to another cell or another ego, another vessel, and you'll start over. And that cycle continues until the end of the cell life. So if you think of consciousness, if consciousness is in the womb or in the waters, all it's doing is growing as a consciousness. Then once it's birthed, you're birthed into the masculine energy, and the phallic takes over. So everything in this reality, everything's a phallic, everything sticks up out the ground, just like a tree. And because of that, we are now consciously in the testicles. Now, I didn't make these words up. People like to argue these points and saying not all languages are English and all of that. Well, I just look at it from my point of view, and I speak English, so I look at it from an English point of view. So I worked it out from that point of view. And it's the English language that is what keeps everybody into this belief system that everybody's got. Everybody believes this world is what it is. Well, it was created. It was created very easily by beliefs that people believed as collectively, and then they projected those beliefs out, and that's what creates a reality. Unfortunately, it has to be destroyed. But just like your ego was created at birth, and it steadily got stronger and stronger the older you got. So you believe the ego's real. Well, the Gaias collectively believes that is real as well. So the whole earth believes this reality is real. Well, that is the collective ego. But like I say, when you get to the end of your life, your ego stays and it dies. It's just a belief, but it'll die. So what happened to the universe? The collective ego has to die. What we're going through right now is the death process. It's the death of the ego. The ego is now dying. The whole belief system is collapsing. And it'll collapse really quickly, quicker and quicker. Because as time passes through the stages of consciousness, it increases in the perception of time, increases in speed. So the perception of time now is getting extremely quick. And April next year is the final step of the 9-step pyramid, the final stage of consciousness. So if you go through the luminaries, you've got the 7 luminaries, the moon, Venus, Mercury, the sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Then, according to modern astrology, you've got Uranus, Neptune, and what was the last one? Pluto. But they've changed those names. Those aren't luminaries per se. Uranus is the crystalline sea. No, Uranus is the firmament. Neptune's the crystalline sea, and Pluto is Anubis. So once you understand those other 3 stages, you understand how you get to 9 stages of consciousness. And Pluto is death. It's the god of death in Egyptian mythology or Menthite theology. So once you understand that Pluto is death or Anubis is death, you'll understand, and that's the last stage, and that starts in April next year. That will be the end of this cycle. And people are saying, but Rob, can we survive? Can we escape? Can we go somewhere special? No, there's no surviving it. It's the end. It's just like death, the death of your vessel. You can not want to die. You can fight it as much as you want. But when death comes, it comes, and the vessel dies, and the ego dies. But it is just, when you look at the word die, just the word die and death. I wrote a post on this yesterday. Because the word die, if you just look at the word, it just means D-I, not D-I-E. And D-I simply means divide. So you can't die because, yeah, you're already separate. So then you've got the word death. But death is also phonetically sounds like death. So if you're deaf, you won't share the truth and you remain divided. So then you can't die divided and death is a thing, and then you have to come back. Once you realize you can die consciously just by killing the ego, or you don't kill the ego, you kill the belief in the ego. That's all you do. You change the ego belief into the one mind or the creator, and you give that your power instead of the ego, because the ego is just based on belief, and it's useless.
There's such a myth created around the word death. So for most, I would say, and I was also a victim of this. There's the fear. There's fear behind it.
So
How? Yeah.
So one of the rules, as you'll know, about being awakened is you have to lose all fear.
Yeah.
It's a law. The reason I say this is because fear was created with the ego.
Right.
I mean, if you knew the truth, you've got nothing to fear. You know you can't die. What's death? Like I say, you go from death is a transition. So think of death like autumn. Yeah, you got a gap between autumn. You got a gap between summer and winter. That's autumn and spring. That's death and birth. So birth is spring, then you have life, and then you die, which is autumn, and then you're in winter. So life is summer, death, or the other reality, subconscious, is winter. That's the two ways to look at it.
I was going to say, if I may take the opportunity, I suppose because why people are fearful of death, because it feels real in terms of, because the people have this tendency to associate sickness to the word death, because it's never like you're in a perfect in alignment that you know what I mean. So it's usually like you feel suffocated. And
Well,
you feel
you've got the same problem, you see, with illness. Illness, again, is created through thoughts. Everything starts through thoughts. So if you're starting from the ego perspective, you look at life and you fear life. That fear creates all the illnesses that you create. It's the belief in the ego, and then you'll do all the wrong things because you're not following the laws. And that's natural law, nature's laws. If you follow nature's laws, you won't get ill. And then when you're not ill, you'll know the truth. And when you know the truth, you won't have fear.
And also aging, I suppose, because humans are aging, because as we age, in your humble opinion, I don't mean to slow your flow, but in your humble opinion, do you see aging as a form of sickness?
No.
Body age, like, because you described the seasons.
It's just drying out. So
okay.
you sort off in the fluid, the melanin fluid, and then it gets to a solid. So you got melanin fluid, melanin solid or crystal, and then melanin gas. So the body is simply starts as a fluid and then becomes solid. You become dense, thick, stupid. So that's why we use these words, because that's what they. So when the consciousness started it with the Polarians in the first root race, they were all ethereal, so they were more as a single cell. Now you can imagine if you look at a single cell or single cell organisms, there's not much to them. I mean, they're translucent, you can see through them. But if you get a collection of them and you stick them all together, they become denser and denser and denser. And the denser you get, the more you're taken away from the one mind that isn't dense. It's the singularity point in the Taurus, which is still that fluid with the gas there. So the gas now under the firmament, that's the mind. The fluid below the firmament, that's the vessel or the body or the consciousness of the feminine energy. And in the end of times, you have to unite both of those things. You have to unite the feminine energy with the masculine. That is, in our reality, that's having sex. So the masculine energy with the feminine energy then just gets creation. Well, that's within your head as well. You've got the pineal gland and the pituitary gland. In our reality, you've got the sun and the moon. They'll join as an energy. So it's like making a circuit. If you get a circuit, you make the circuit, it'll start producing energy. Well, that's what it's going to do. Now, once you understand about tantric sex and how tantric sex works within a human, so if you just look at man having sex once, using tantric sex, that's what the universe is doing from creation as it goes through the chakras, levels of consciousness. So when you're having tantric sex, what you're doing is, let's say you're about to ejaculate, you stop the ejaculation, there's ways of doing that, but you just stop, so you don't ejaculate. You then carry on with this set. So you stop the ejaculation, and then you carry on. And what you're actually doing is building up energy. And you build it up in pressure, and you build it up, but you don't ejaculate. If you ejaculate from that point. So if you're going from the chakras, you go from the bottom one up, next one, and next one. If you ejaculate, you would ejaculate from that point of consciousness. So it goes all the way up, all the way up, all the way up, all the way up. But there has been consciously an ejaculation, say 3 times throughout the cell life. 3 plasma events, and that's what a plasma event is. But again, it'll be from a lower consciousness, and this because we're now in the masculine energy, so where the sperm cells, in essence, to go forward. We're in the testicles now. Osiris rules, or masculine energy rules. We are the sperm cells, the semen or the seeds that are going to go forward into the next ovum or egg or cell. So we want to understand it's always, always, always about the creation of consciousness or the recreation of consciousness. That's all it's about. People don't like this because they think, oh, it's all about sex. It's got nothing to do with sex. Sex isn't even a thing. All that's really happening is energy is joining to create more energy. That's literally it. So when you get this tantric sex energy, the tantric sex is building up throughout the cell's life, or the energy is building up throughout the cell's life until at the very end of the 9th stage, there's a lot of pressure. And that pressure is the plasma event. That's the equivalent of ejaculation. So what is that pressure? Well, that pressure is life itself. So as you'll know, that civilizations keep getting buried and then buried, and we keep building on top of it, and then it's buried, and we build on top of it. Well, energy starts off high frequencies in the ether. It then gets lower in frequencies. We receive those frequencies through our hair, and then our thoughts. We then use words, and slowly but surely, the energy comes from above, comes down, and becomes denser and denser. It then becomes us. We are that energy, just like a plant. Plants don't take anything from the soil except micro and macronutrients that are far too small for the plant to grow. So what's the plant using to grow? It takes nothing from the soil. The soil is still way the same. So where's it getting this energy from? So it's using the frequencies from the sun. It uses those. It then stores them as frequencies in water in the tubes of the plant. So it's just getting high energy, change it to low energy, and then storing it as energy. So the plant becomes that energy. Then the plant dies, and that energy is slowed down again even more, and it becomes land. So land, the whole of the Earth's surface, is that energy that's slowly been building up over time, over the cell's life, that has to be released through the singularity point. That's at the center of the Earth. So when that happens, that will be the plasma event. It's the energy build up and then release. And when it's released, everything will get wiped out and it starts over. And that's basically the reason why consciousness exists. It's just so the mind can have an experience of what it's like to know everything. This may sound complicated, but I'll explain it as quick as I can, and I'll do it as simply as I can. So the one mind knows everything. So what does it know? Nothing. There's nothing to know. The only time there's something to know is from the ego perspective, because the one mind knows everything. So the only thing the one mind doesn't know is what it's like to not know, because it knows everything. But there's nothing to know. So the mind knowing everything is the fact that it doesn't know anything because it is nothing exists. So there's nothing to know. So it needs to create something. So it creates something from nothing because nothing exists. So it creates something. And now something exists. Now the mind knows what it's like to know everything. Because now something exists, the ego, that's what it created. And the ego doesn't know what it is or anything else that's been created. So now, from the one mind's point of view, it now knows and feels what it's like to know nothing and everything at the exact same time. So the reason that life is created was simply so the mind can know nothing and know everything, which is to know nothing. But to do that, it needs to create the opposite, not knowing. So the mind knows everything, so it has to create not knowing, and that's the ego that doesn't know. So then the mind knows everything. So that's the motive or the desire what created it all. And then from that, it used frequencies, which is the mind, high frequencies. It focuses those high frequencies onto the melanin, the fluid, to create the vibrations or the resonance that form the Taurus in the first place. And that's how it did it. Right. That's the only way I can say it does it, because there's no other way it can possibly work if you just use logic of what we've got.
That's watering information. Consciousness being light, as we know. Talk me through it, brother, because with the variation of different colors, because I picked up through your beautiful energy, black being unity and white being duality. Can you put that to some kind of context to that?
Context.
Yeah.
It's really simple. So again, the way to explain it, I use the consciousness in your subconscious, or the sun and the moon, or the pineal gland and the pituitary gland. And the reason I use these is because this is how it works. So at night, if you use your eyes at night and you look outside and you've only got moonlight, you'll notice everything goes into shades of grey. That's your night. That's the human's equivalent of night vision. You take away all colour, and the moonlight will only give black and white colour. You'll only see black and white. You might see shades, but it'll be shades of grey. The reason for that is because you're using what I call black light. So you've got the one mind that controls everything. The one mind then gives your subconscious information. Now, your subconscious is feminine energy. It's like a cup. You can fill it up, and it takes in everything. It misses nothing. All the things that the conscious mind misses, the subconscious mind doesn't miss. You walk into a room, it knows where every single thing is in that room. It knows what it is. It's looked at upside down, inside out, and it'll do it like that. Straight away, instantly. It misses nothing. Your conscious mind is a focal point. It's masculine energy, so it's the top of a wave. So it's got a focal point at the top. That focal point is consciousness, the sun. So you've got the one mind that is black light. That uses black light to show the subconsciousness what you need, your life script. That life script will then be fed to you. Because like I say, the subconscious knows everything, but you're only aware consciously of one thought at any one time. Yes, so just one thought. Now, white light can be divided again. So in the moonlight, so when you're in the womb, you're only using the pituitary gland. So it's only moonlight. There's only black light. And you use your imagination. You see all the images on the inside of your head. That's black light. So you close your eyes, it's black, and then you see images. That's because it is a light, and it's black light, and black light shows images inside black light. That's how you're able to see in your head. As soon as you open your eyes at birth, then for the first time, you will see white light. White light is because your mind's eye is one eye. So the moonlight uses one eye. Yeah, and that's your mind's eye. Your conscious mind uses two eyes. That creates duality. You've got one eye looking from the left side, one eye from the right side. That is literally duality. And then with that duality, with white light, you get the division of white light. It separates into all the colours. So your consciousness, which is white light, has now been separated into colours. Those colours represent your chakras, or the luminaries. Yeah, the lowest one being red and the highest one being ultraviolet, if you like, or blue or violet. So you know the colours, or your consciousness has been now at birth has been separated. So what your aim in life is to do is to go through those levels of consciousness, right back to the top level. So you got to get back to the white light, and once you get the white light, you can then join the white light with the black light. But for that, you've got to break through the ego. And the ego is the white light that is being separated. So that's in essence what consciousness is. It's light. From your point of view, it's white light. And that white light's been divided into the chakras, or the separate colours. And each one of those is a level of consciousness. So red being the lowest level of consciousness. That's when you're young. Then 7 years later, you go for the next one. 7 years later, you go for the next one. 7 years later, you go for the next one. That's why puberty is a big thing.
So the color sequence and variations are pretty accurate in your opinion, yes? I mean, in terms of when we talk about the base to the crown, although the crown is a golden color, but then it's kind of disperses into some kind of whiteness above it, or if you can add a bit
I
more
lost
light
that.
to that. No, I was just saying, you know,
You're
when
breaking
we
up there.
are we breaking up? It's not clear.
That's
Is it
okay
clear?
now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I was just saying that when we represent colors from the base, you know, the base color to the crown cut chakra, crown
Mhm.
usually associates a specific color, or in your opinion, can you
Well, you can
fill
see,
in the
yeah, it depends on how you want to do it. You can do it using colors, or you can do it using metals. If you're using
okay.
metal, the sun is gold and the moon is silver. You bring
Okay.
gold and silver together, you get platinum. Yeah. So the other ones, or the other chakras, are metals. So if you're going to say gold, you'd have to look at it from a metal point of view.
Right.
So I think we start with Mercury, the moon's silver, Venus is copper, the sun's gold, Mars is iron, I think, Jupiter is tin, and Saturn is lead. I think that's the metals in the planets. That's why you've got Saturn. And if you understand how the metals work, when you bring one metal to another metal, again, it's alchemy, really. Basically, what alchemy is talking about. If you start, when I looked at this, I had to use what I knew to work it out. But this is what I think alchemy actually is, using metals. Are you going to say something? I can't share your voice, mate.
It's perfect. I was just pointing at myself, reference to some of the questions I was looking. Forgive me for that pointing. I was just pointing at my screen. Just with some of the questions, but please excuse me for that. Please continue.
If you've got any questions, just ask, you know.
Yeah, no, I'm just because people are sending some questions, and so I thought I'll just kind of balanced listening to you and just look at a few questions at the same time. So I didn't mean to point, but that's what I was directing my thought there a little bit. But please continue. Sorry about that.
So yeah, alchemy. When I was watching a video on it, and it seemed to be what they were saying, because it was like an esoteric video. They were using distillation. So, and you had to use a certain amount of sulfur with this distillation to create alchemy. So we'll start with mercury. If you put mercury in, you had to heat it using with sulfur, a certain amount of sulfur. The gas that comes off it would cool down, and that would give you the next metal. And I'm pretty sure that was how alchemy was working. But you have to have the amount of sulfur exactly right. And I don't know what they are. And obviously, I'm not bothered about gold either. But in essence, what you're doing is you're purifying it. So what consciousness is doing is being purified. It goes from the base right up from the base of which is mercury, and it goes up into platinum, which is gold and silver. So consciousness can be looked at as a metal, can also be looked at as light, but they're all the same thing basically. So do you have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, there's one beautiful question from Jesse Howe from the Missing Link. He was just saying that we're supposed to live 800 years. Here's the question: we're supposed to live 800 years here, but they've been poisoning us to keep us thinking we are worthless slaves. That's a good question.
It is, but it's based in fear again. So get away from being enslaved. You enslaved yourself. It was a choice. It was always going to happen. There is no elite. They're not doing anything. Everything's controlled by the one mind. But for the years you're supposed to live, you have to understand wave energy. So in the beginning, on the first step of the 9-step pyramid, that first stage took 16.4 billion years. So the first week, that's only 1 week in the universal cell's life. That first week took 16.4 billion years to pass. We're in the very last stages now. So time's really quick. So on those 9 steps, each stage gets 20 times quicker, and life gets 20 times smaller. So on the first stage, the single cells would have been huge, and time elapsed really, really slowly. So the lifespan of everything keeps getting shorter and shorter. You still, if you look at it another way, let's say you know how a woman is born with so many eggs, and she'll once she runs out of eggs, she'll reach her menopause. Let's just say you're born with a certain amount of heartbeats,
Right.
and when they run out, they run out. So you've got a certain amount of life energy, and when that life energy runs out, it runs out. You could argue the point and say we're supposed to live to 120 years now. You could argue that point, because that would be 120 would be 12, and it would make sense with the zodiac and all that. But we don't. On average, we're living to 70, 80 years. Well, that makes more sense. 70 years would be the wave of 7. So it might be 90 years as supposed to live. 90, if you go for the 9 stages of evolution of consciousness. Right. But if you do that 9 stages from 7, it'll only be 9 times 7. So you could argue the point again and say that 9 times 7 would only take you up to 70 odd. So it depends on how you want to look at it. But you can't, I personally wouldn't say that anybody is doing anything to you, because it's always been a choice. The problem you have with saying we're being poisoned, in what way? As soon as you, this is a huge problem that people are going to have. I don't say negative things.
Right.
I say lessons, and that's it. So if something negative is happening to you, it was supposed to happen so you can learn from it, no matter what it is, including putting poisons into your body, if poisons are a thing. Because the problem I've got, if something is right, this everything's got its place. Yes, I agree. Everything on Earth has its place. But in your body, or in the universal cell, so in your body, is there poisons? Could you poison yourself? And you'd say no. Well, how could the universe poison itself? It's it. We are it. Do you know what I mean? So it's, I don't say why.
So we're saying, like, in terms of like you can energize something, and you put that implant within yourself, and it's quite explosive. So you hear it, and you start energizing it, and it will happen. It will manifest.
You give power to suggestions.
Right.
I remember once, listen to it was a doctor as well, who says the most dangerous thing about a cigarette is the cigarette packet and the images and the words that put on it.
It's programming.
They say smoking causes cancer. Your subconscious reads that,
right? It's already
then tells your consciousness, so you believe it. Smoking doesn't cause anything.
No.
Your belief in it does. So it's all you've done, right? This is how hypnosis works. They give suggestions, and you hear them. So you went to school and you heard lots of information. Your mom and your dad told you lots of information, and you heard it.
Mm-hmm.
And you listen to that, and then you make it real. You give those words power, and that's how it works. Everyone is under hypnosis. The problem they've got is the people who are giving them the or making them believe they're doing all these things. And you give them all the power by believing in them. And they're just men and women like you and I. And they're not special. Different blood types. This is a funny question, because I was talking with Kitty about this the other day. So we did just look at this. I might have to ask some questions yet to Kitty to remind us, though. There was, how many blood types was there? 7? I think it was 7 different blood types. But again, if you just look at it like positive, negative, and then neutral, you'll see the different blood types. Then you've got left and right. Yeah, it's simple to work out. That pattern's the same. It's exactly the same. So you've got the plane of inertia, positive energy, negative energy. So you've got 8.
Thank you very much for that. That resonates. I mean, from my perspective as well, it's about neutralizing, right? Alkalizing. So you know that raises your level, doesn't it, of consciousness, so that you can hold the light more, I guess, right? In the blood, it is important. The blood, so it's red in color. So, or is it? I don't know. What color is it? Is it red? I don't know. I suppose it is. There are different shades of red, but generally can be pinky.
It's all red.
Yeah.
No, the different, right? The thing about blood, it's like it's how they describe it. So I don't use science, because they make it up, and I don't know the evidence, but they just say things. So you've got your different blood types, but your blood types are based, again, if you look at the pattern, you can see it's from the Taurus. So if you think of the Taurus, it's got the plane of inertia. Above the plane is positive energy. Below the plane is negative. So you've got A plus. You know it's above, it's positive energy. A negative or AB. So A is one side, B is the other side. AB will be in the middle. A plus above, A negative below. It's that simple. But obviously I don't know the different types of what they say. They are saying that. To me, blood's blood. I don't know any difference in blood. I've just got to go on what they say. But there will be a difference in people. The different hues of people, or because you're from different parts of the brain, and you're not. And the different melanin amounts in each man means you need different things in the vessel to make yourself better. And that's important. For things like that, you need Dr. Africa, who shows these things. So the black man in a Western world or the white world will go to the hospital, and all the numbers of what make you healthy, or from a white man's point of view.
Yeah.
And it's you've got to look at, it's all about melanin though, and how much melanin you've got within you, how much you produce yourself. It's got nothing to do with a white man and a black man on the outside. Yeah, it's not about that, because if that was the case, I'm half white and half black, so it can't be. But yeah, blood type again, like I say, it's the same thing. It's the same pattern. It's easy to work out. I have done posts on that as well. What we were talking about before.
Yeah, no, I was going to say thanks, Taffy, for that question. And there was another question which I didn't get the chance to present to you, brother. It was, is there any copper planets that you're conscious of?
Venus represents copper.
Okay.
I'm sure it's Venus. It is, isn't it? Yeah. Venus represents copper. And again, if you're using alchemy, it goes from the metals, goes from the base metals up. And I'm pretty sure it's just distillation that you'd use to do that. That's if you were bothered by that. But,
yeah. I was going to say, yeah, I mean, in terms of tools, I mean, just going back to the plasma event, if we, because you were quite specific on a date. Can you talk us to, like, you know, the calculations and how giving people the tools to become more independent rather than, you know, from dependency to independency, so people become more consciously aware and greater observers of these tools. I mean, you have something that you're giving right now, so
right, when you look at the 9-step pyramid, the main 9-step pyramid, it's got dates on it. This image has been used for quite a while. I didn't create the image, but it does explain how consciousness works. And you can work out the dates. I've actually worked out the exact dates of when they added the 1,000 years and all of that. But you've got to go to the 1700s to do it. And that's like the 6th step, I think it is, on the 9-step pyramid. And the 6th step, I think, was Saturn. And then it went to Jupiter and then Saturn. So Jupiter was over the 5th or 6th step. I can't remember. It has to be the 6th, because Saturn's the 7th. So the 6th step's Jupiter. Now, the way I look at it, if you look at the planets, they have their own days. Monday is Moon Day. Yeah. Our days of the week, the way it is, are wrong. I mean, it's just set up wrong. Monday is Moon Day. That's the only one that's right.
Was it deliberately done? Sorry to stop. Was it deliberate? It's manipulation. Okay. That's clear to everyone.
It was deliberately done around the same time, so you have to work all this out. Now, if you look at it from man's point of view, you'll think, oh, it's been done to us, and it's wrong, and it shouldn't happen. You'll become a victim if you think like that. So you just think the mind did it, so you could pass the tests.
Right.
That's why mind made up the word testicles. Whoever come up with the word testicles got it from the mind. Whoever called them the testes got the word from the mind. And it just so happens that we use the word test to pass the test. So once you understand this, and you understand we're in the testicles now, and we're being tested, and you're God, you understand that you're testing yourself. So it's your test, you're testing yourself so you can go forward as a consciousness. It's really simple. So in the 1700s, you might have heard that the powers that be added 1,000 years to history. Well, they did. I think Christ, the year of the Christ was supposed to be done by Christians was in 550 or 574, something like that. So that was the year 500. Now, if you look at the 9-step pyramid, you'll see that the Dark Ages is written on, I think it's the 6th step is the Dark Ages, or the 7th step. I can't remember which. It might be the 7th, where the Dark Ages are. That's Saturn's reign. So Saturn has his reign on his day. So everyone, or each planet or luminary, as a week, will reign on each step on their day. So Monday, the moon day, it had its rule on Monday, and that was the first day. The next day is Tuesday. So the planet that rules after that starts on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and so on. But like I say, them days are mixed up. So Saturn should be on the last day, and Jupiter should be on the 6th day. So when you look at it, it's broken up into 13. So it's really, really hard to work all this out, because you've got to use a 7-day week, but the 7-day week's been broken up into day and night. So that's how we get the wave of 13 from. So Monday morning, Monday night, Tuesday morning, Tuesday night, and so on, up and down, up and down. But anyway, you'll see that Saturn's reign ended. Sorry, Jupiter's reign ended midway through the 7th step, and they added 1,000 years to that date, bringing it from 500 to the 1500s. So you notice everything in etymology or dictionaries, so you look at dates in history, they always go back to the 1700s. Everything goes back to the 1700s because there was 1,000 years that added. The reason they added 1,000 years is so they can create history. So they created 1,000 years telling you that kings have been these people and queens these people, and this is the Pope, and they've always done these things, giving them the power. Well, what they've actually done was, well, they didn't delete things, they added things. So they created a paradigm, they created a story. And then everybody listens to that story, everybody gets taught that story, and that becomes your belief. And they used the English language to do this. They used Francis Bacon and Shakespeare. Francis Bacon gave you King James Bible. Shakespeare gave the Shakespeare's plays, which these two people, Francis Bacon was supposed to have been Shakespeare as well. And they created the English language, or give the English language to the world. So the Bible went around bashing people on the head with the Bible, saying, believe this, speak English. And everyone wasn't allowed to speak the native tongue anymore. Even Gaelic and Welsh, it got banned, and people weren't allowed to speak the native tongues. Everyone had to speak English, because English language has the spells in it that create the paradigm that we live in. They need the English language for law, the legal system. So the English language put in the legal system. So, and then they created, what you understand, the legal system is simply for corporations. It's for trade on the seas. They can just trade. That's all it's for. That's why you say governments, all are about is about trade, sanctioning trades and all trades this and trade that. That's all it's about, because from the trade becomes the money. So what they've done was made you, with your birth certificate, the corporation. So now your surname, the name on the birth certificate, that now is it's a corporate entity, a dead entity. It's a corporation, and they trade that corporation. They buy and sell it and trade your name, and they say that you're it. And then because you claim the name, they are able to punish you as a corporation. So it's like you're working for a company, and in that company you've got rules, and if you don't follow the rules, they can sack you in. But in their company, they say they can send you to jail. They can't send man to jail, but they can send the corporation to jail. So they send the fictitious entity.
Makes sense. Yeah.
That's how they did it. And again, you did it to yourself.
Exactly.
That's why you can't complain about it. You get to choose.
Sorry, I don't mean to backtrack a bit. Morgan was saying week starts with Sunday. How does that tally with your?
No, because Sun Day, that's the day of the sun.
Okay.
Moon Day is first. Moon reality in the womb. Then at the 4th stage, the sun is born. You're the sun, is the pineal gland. S-O-N simply means S-U-N. S-O-N, sun, male, isn't male. It just meant beget. It meant give birth. So everybody's a son. but that S-O-N was a play on words from the S-U-N, and what they're talking about, the Son of God, they're talking about the pineal gland in your head, or consciousness. So the Sunday comes on the 4th day. The days of the week are, you have to get the planets associated with this. I've wrote it down, but I can't remember offhand. So Monday is Moon Day. Tuesday, or what we call Tuesday, or the second day we'll call it, is Mercury. The 3rd day is Venus. The 4th day is Sun Day. The 5th day is Mars. The 6th day is Jupiter. And the 7th, the Sabbath, is Saturn. So you need to know the days of the week properly before everything else makes sense.
Yeah. And Morgan also added, which makes Saturn Day the last day, resting day.
Yeah.
I'm just bringing the...
Yeah, but Saturday, Saturn is, but the Sunday is like, it's in the middle of the week. It's the 4th day. It's the Monday, Venus, Mercury, Venus, then the Sun. Saturday is last, the Sabbath, because it's the last planet. So the days of the week are based on the luminaries of the planets, and they're in the wrong order. That's why the week's all messed up.
It's just
I was talking to another.
Yeah.
All I've done is confused you with the lies. That's all. Okay, so there's supposed to be 13 months in the year. Yeah.
13 months.
If you have 4-week months, 13 months in any one year. It's supposed to be based on the moon and not the sun. That's how you're supposed to time it. Everything's based on the Gregorian calendar and it's based on the sun. And that's just wrong. It's the ego. So if you're based on the moon, you'd have, if you went really precise, it's 27 days, 8 hours. But if you go what we know now, we'll say 28 days for the moon to do one rotation. So if you worked on that, you got 28 days, which would be 4 weeks in any 1 month. Yeah. So every month would have 28 days or 4 weeks. So just do 12 times 4 comes to 48. So where's the other month? I know they say you got a couple of 5-week months in there. They shove that in, but even when trying to work out, it's extremely hard. But what they've done is they give you 31 days and 30 days on so many months. You just put all the months down to 28 days, take the extra days, and you'll get 29 days extra. If all the months stop at 28, you'll have another month.
I just love the way you're saying it. Yeah. Sorry, brother, I interrupted you. I just love the way you're just simplifying things from truth, because because there's one truth, but what we have is distortion.
Just opinions of it. That's all it is. And it's not that they're wrong; they just misinterpreted it. That's all. It's misinterpreted. So yeah, people just not understand it properly.
What kind of tools would you, I mean, reference to, sorry, because this is a big event. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. I mean, there's going to be a plasma event, and you seem to have put your neck out, reference to the date, which you're saying is 31st of October, 2024. What can we do to prepare? I mean, to bring ourselves into alignment.
Balance. It's all about balance. So karma, all karma is balancing energy. That's it. You have to balance your karmic debt. And how you do that is by forgiveness. You forgive. And you're not forgiving everybody else because nobody else exists. It's only you. So how are you forgiving? You're forgiving yourself for judging anything outside of your head. If you look at the elite and you think the elite are wrong, you're making a judgment. And what you just judge is the divine plan. The elite are supposed to be doing what they're doing. That's part of the divine plan.
I can really relate to that, because something incredibly, phenomenally, I can't even put it into words, because I was buying the word healing, that we need healing. If you say we need healing, it means that you are sick. So if you remove sickness, completely out of your vessel, why do you need healing? Because it's an implant again. It's a, yeah.
It always comes from the point of view of lack. So if you need healing, that implies you're not already healed. Now remember, the ego lives in the past 100% of the time. Your subconscious passes information to your consciousness. You're only aware of it once it comes in your head as a conscious thought. But you've already had the thought. The thought was passed to you. Yeah. So by the time you've received it, you're now in the past. That's deja vu. What you're actually remembering is the gap from the subconscious to the consciousness. And you feel like you've done it before. So therefore, the conscious reality where we live now is the past. We 100% of the time live in the past. Therefore, if you live in the past, it's already happened. So what you're seeing now is going to affect how you feel tomorrow. So what you should be doing is telling yourself now that you're healed. You're already healed because you're living in the past. So if you're going to say now that you need to heal, then tomorrow will come and you still need to do something. You still need to heal. The way you're supposed to project thought out is that it's already done. The way you do that is do it on the inside of your head. If you want tools to heal, it's your imagination. Imagine yourself healed. See yourself in your head with your eyes closed, healed, being healthy, being fine, being perfectly balanced, and being perfect. If you can visualize that and see yourself that, the outside world will reflect it. All you've done was hijacked your subconscious mind, and they give you ideas. You're supposed to take that back and give yourself the thoughts. You control them. Stop letting other people control what you think. And that's the problem. So the best tool you've got is self-hypnosis. And that's
Self-talk. Yeah, self-talk. I mean, my day begins with gratitude. Talk to me about gratitude and being thankful. How powerful a frequency is that, brother?
Like, again, it depends on who you're giving the gratitude to. People say thank you to me all of the time. Don't thank me. If you want to thank someone, thank yourself. Yeah. Always be grateful for yourself. Always be grateful to the mind. The mind is doing it all. Yeah.
But the body being a magnet attracted an enlightened vessel, shall we say. And you can be thankful that you've ignited yourself to that level of consciousness. I guess that you used certain modalities to get to thus far.
No.
I mean, no.
I didn't use any modalities.
Respect.
All I did.
Yeah. Please.
All I did was ask questions and answer questions. That was it. And then realize that all these modalities are outside of you.
Right. Okay.
That means the past. Again, why would you need something from the outside in when you create the outside from within? So what you're supposed to do is you don't need modalities, you don't need any of those things, you don't need tricks or anything. All you need to do is tell yourself it's up to you. And it's all based on speech. Words that you tell yourself are the most important things. The images you see in your head are the most important things. They can heal you. The placebo effect tells you, that alone tells you heal yourself. I mean, when you scratch your arm, you don't need anything to put on it to heal it. It heals itself. You break a bone, as long as it's straight, it'll do it itself. You don't do anything. You don't need pins and all this metal. You don't need that. That's just so that you can make more money. All you need to do is keep it straight, and it heals itself. You always heal yourself. The damages on the inside are because you're eating the wrong things, generally, and you're stretching your stomach. And when you stretch your stomach, your intestines, it can split. Modern science calls this leaky gut. Yeah, but it's been known about for years. And what you do is all that digested food that is supposed to stay on the outside of you goes through its tear and goes into your vessel, into your Taurus, and makes you ill. Well, yeah, it will. You've now got part of... Again, everything's got its place in the world. Yeah? So it's not that it's poison, but you can put things in the wrong place. So if I got a tooth and I put it in my brain, I could probably die. Because the tooth's not meant to be in my brain. It's not meant to be in the lung or my heart. It's meant to be in my mouth. If you start putting things in the wrong place, then yeah, you can do damage. So if you start messing around with the earth, yes, you can do damage to it and you can cause problems. What's his question?
Just wondering, a question for Rob. Is there any good books that he did just to read to ignite?
Right. There was,
I have a question to that as well. At what stage in your life were you born with this memory?
kind of. I was
Okay,
born with I was born with an outlook on life, and I just felt different. I
okay.
just thought everybody was like that, and I thought I was different because I got brought up in Newcastle with white people, and I was black. So I felt different. So I thought
Right.
that was the difference. But no, I thought differently very early on. But
Yeah, but you could have been a white man that didn't even, white people don't fit in as well into the box. But what I was going to say, was there something that was thought provocative or something happened to you as a child that brought all this to the surface? I mean, it's
I wouldn't. I've always thought like I do. I always think differently to most people, and I make things really simple. That's been said before many times. I guess no, no. I've always been like this. I was born this way, and I was just when my mum brought me up, I was able to just let us think the way I wanted to. She didn't try to force thought on us, so I had the freedom of thought from an early age. The first book I ever bought was on self-hypnosis. And one of the questions I asked at the time, I was about 18, 19. So I didn't buy my first book until I was 18, 19. I can remember asking the question, how does my brain know to ask questions about itself to the point it'll make it, go to a bookstore and buy a book about the brain to work itself out? Them were the kind of questions I was asking myself. How does my brain know to do that? Unless it already knows and it's just forgot. So, yeah, I've always thought differently. I did think I had a purpose when I was younger. I thought it was just to teach children or my kids. And then that wasn't the thing. And then after my mum's death, my mum died in 2015. I then asked a certain question, and that was, where's my mom gone? Where's she gone? They're saying a consciousness is gone. So I'm like, they're saying that body there, that's not your mom. And I'm like, well, if that's not my mom, what was? Where's she gone? And it was that question alone that I started asking questions, because I used to believe in science like everybody else. I used to put all my faith into science, even though I knew science didn't answer any of the questions that I had. Like, what's creation? Big Bang. Shh, we don't know. Just yeah. And I didn't like that. So I needed to know what creation was. So to work out death, I had to work out what creation was. So that's where I started. I was like, what's creation? So I started with the Bible, worked out the 7 days of creation, saw the pattern. The 7 days of creation is the same 7 days it takes for the fertilized human egg to travel up the fallopian tubes to the womb. So then you can work out that Eden is the womb. So the Bible started to make sense. So at that point, I started to delete everything I knew about science. Just got rid of it. I didn't rely on any of it because I knew it was bull. I then looked at all esoteric teachings, all esoteric books. I can't even remember the books. I didn't read any like paperbacks. I got them all off YouTube. And they would just keep coming up with me recommended. And I would listen for hours and hours of all these different books. And I had to put them on fast because it would take too long. But when I'd done this, all I was doing was seeing the same patterns. So I already knew about creation, you see.
Attention, you see, that's a good start. I mean, it's like people do not pay attention, especially to details. Sorry to backtrack again a little bit here and there. Rob, are you a Virgo by any chance?
I'm a Gemini.
Gemini, okay.
The thing about the Gemini, if you understand about Gemini's astrology, I will not stop focusing on a thought until I know the answer. That thought can last years, but I will recall it when I set me the reminders, and I'll go back and I'll work it out. And I've spent my life asking questions, and only now was I able to find the true answers, and it's took a long time. It's took my entire life, but only in the last 7 years did I get the true answers. So spent 40 years like everybody else, confused. Then the last 7 years worked out the secrets of the universe. But that I didn't use anything. And when I started, because I thought these things were possible. I mean, Mum was still alive when I started the mission. I even said to my Mum, I'm going to work out how to break the cycle of. I didn't realize at the time what it was, but I was going to break the cycle. I didn't know what the cycle was, but it was reincarnation cycle. I'm gonna break this cycle. And then my mom died and all that. But I'd been asking questions. I started off with law. I started looking into law because law's so unfair and I didn't like it. Being a Gemini, I like balance. Everything's got to be balanced. I like things to be fair. That's innate in my ego. So it's not fair. I'm not happy. And law, the world just wasn't fair. So I had to work out why it's not fair. And then when you work out the truth, you're like, yeah. I don't like to say people or a race of people, so I won't. But there is a race of people out there that created all of this, and they're still there now. And they call them bankers, but like, okay, courts or banks. Yeah. If you look at the word, because you got to go to the bar to become a lawyer. Yeah, to sit on the bench, right? So the bar and the bench is a banker's bench where they used to do their accounts. So we look at the word bench. That's what it says. It was for bankers. So courts are simply for banks. It's all administration courts, and it's all about trade. Everything. Everything's about trade. And that's why it's wrong. So once I worked out law, I was able to work out what natural law was and what the laws that you're supposed to be following. Then you find out about the 50 universal laws and what that's about. And that is basically balancing energy. So being a Gemini, balancing energy is what I do. So yeah, not very good, Gemini. Gemini is a much better one for me to be able to do this. But yeah,
what about? I was going to say about intuition, brother. Intuition. How does that sit with you? Intuition.
It's in the word.
What is it?
Intuition. Tuition from within.
Right. Okay.
You teach yourself. But intuition's a big thing. It's important. You feel the answers, yeah. You know the truth when you feel it.
Ah, there's my lovely brother Lee.
Hey,
Alkali. Realize. Lovely to have you here. A recall memory like no other. Exceptionally enlightened was a feedback we got from brother Lee there. Here's another one. Rob is a Gemini ruled by Mercury, the messenger of the gods. Gemini is the twin and has an internal direct contact with both brain hemispheres. Gemini love to be creative concepts and mutable air.
Mutable air. And that's Morgan as well. Morgan's a good man. He's an astrologer. Nice. I know Morgan. Morgan's a good bloke. Basically, my life's purpose is this. Once you understand your soul role, like you might have thought you were going to do these things, but your life has led to this point.
Yeah.
So if this information is important for the rest of the world, then you're equally as important to share this with the rest of the world. Everybody who's listened to this is equally as important because it's your thoughts that create it. Yeah. And all I'm trying to do is get people to wake up from the dream. The movie's going to end next year, and you need to be awake and out the movie, or you're going to die within the movie. I mean, that's just stupid.
It's a non-brainer for me personally. I mean, it's like if it's resonating and you're getting a feedback, positive feedback, but it's again positive, negative. It's to be centered, right? To harmonize, neutralize,
to balance. Balance. And the reason you've got to be balanced, because if you're not balanced, if you think something's positive or something's negative, then it's not balanced. So if you go out judging anything outside of your head, or I don't like that, or I like this, or I dislike that, or I should be eating this, or I shouldn't be eating that, you're focusing on the outside again. And it isn't that. It's never, ever the outside. It's never.
Yeah. Love creates new world.
It does. Without it, there wouldn't be one.
So after this event, what happens? I mean, it's what you want. Being a creator, you've passed a certain powerful test
Well,
before the event.
so consciousness. You understand that the sun or the moon or your pineal gland or pituitary gland, those are made of cells. You will become a higher being, or the upper brain. You'll become something else. You'll still have a job. Okay, I asked this question once. When are you not in servitude? Is there a time the human isn't in servitude, or the mind or consciousness is not in servitude? And then you think about it and you're like, well, as a consciousness, you've got to serve trillions of cells. You've got to look after all of them. You've got to look after cells on the earth. So you're always doing something. And then you think, oh, I want to go back to the mind because the mind doesn't do anything. Well, no, the mind's got the biggest job. It looks after everything and serves everything. So even the mind's in servitude to you and you're in servitude to the mind. And that's always the case. So you're always, if you're conscious, you've got a job. And if you're not conscious, you're the one mind and you've still got a job. So if there's existence, there's jobs to do and there's work to be done as a consciousness or as the one mind. So you'll get to choose what you want to be on the next time. Otherwise, if you don't, you're going to come back in the lower vessel again and have to do it all over again. And I'm not. I've had enough. I'm done.
No,
likewise. So I don't want to be physical again. I know what it's like, so I don't want this again. But I don't mind being a higher consciousness. I don't mind that. It'd be fun. I'd enjoy that. Or go back to the mind and just be the mind. I would enjoy that. I don't mind. But for the ones that are going to come back, so you've got if you think of it as there's levels of consciousness. So all those levels are still there and all those levels still go forward. But it depends on what level you are, determines what you're going to come back as in the next world or the next reality. So the higher conscious people now who are all full of love but haven't reached the top level of black light, they'll come back as the Polarians. Yeah, they'll come back as single cells, all knowing, all powerful single cells. Science calls them stem cells. These single cells are the Polarians. They create everything. What I'm remembering is their knowledge. Yeah, because they are the creators. They've got 360 degrees of the zodiac they can use. So if we use 5 degrees of the zodiac for senses, they'll use all 360 degrees of the zodiac for senses. They don't speak, they just use telepathy and all of that. So they're extremely powerful entities. We just think they're just single cells and they're stupid, but those single cells create your vessel. Those single cells create everything on the earth, every single thing ever created, all created by single cells. So the Polarians are the first, and they are all powerful. So the most awakened people will come back as the Polarians.
Yeah.
And then to start over. Anyone who's in the ego level, who's unawakened, who actively fights against the truth, will come back in the ego reality. So they'll only come back at the 4th stage when the sun's birthed again. And they'll come back in the ego world and have to go through it all again until they pass the test. Also, to say there's 2 kind of races: the root race and the sun race and the moon race. The moon race are the people or the souls that were created in the first reality. The sun race are the souls that were created after birth, when the vessel was still growing, but then stops growing. So they're like, in essence, cuttings of the original plant. So you'll take a cutting off it, it'll look like it, it'll act like it, it'll smell like it, but it hasn't got a taproot. And that's the difference. The reason the people who are awakening are because they are from the moon race or from the moon reality, and they have a taproot. And that taproot goes down and is able to go to the black sun and remember who you are. So anyone in this reality, they call them NPCs, non-playable characters and all of that. Those characters are simply from the sun race. They haven't been through the baptism of water yet. They've only had the baptism of fire. So, but you need both to be balanced to pass the test. So if you only come into the reality, in this reality, in the sun reality, you'll have to go through the moon one as well. So they'll, it depends on what stage they come back at. Because I don't think they're going to be the first ones. The Polarians, they are the first stage. That's the first 7 days. So that's before Eden. You're not even in Eden at this point. It's before you get there. And that takes that traveling takes 16.4 billion years. So from a conscious point of view, it takes a long time just to travel up the fallopian tubes consciously. And then you'll have the egos being birthed sometime. I personally think it's when the child or the fetus looks like a human. Once it looks like a human, I think then there'll be humans on Earth or in the Earth brain plane again, but still in the waters. So at that point, there might be land on Earth in the water still. But for the first couple of stages, I don't think there's any land. I think it's all water, it's all fluid. And then you'll have egos starting again from that point.
Brother, I have yeah, it does to me, but I'm sure it does to a lot of people as well. But here's a question. What took you so long to come out? I mean, because your consciousness, your reference to your memory, do you feel that there was a divine timing for this connection?
Oh, everything's timed perfectly. One of my life lessons was to learn patience. The ego always thinks it knows. It thinks it knows. I used to think, I know, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, and it wasn't. I was always wrong. The ego will always try to preempt what is going to happen. And what you've got to do is stop doing things. Say the ego does things. You're born and you start doing things. The hardest thing to do, and it took a long time. I couldn't stay in the house for more than 2 days without getting stir crazy. Now I can stay there for months and not be bothered. The ability to be able to stay in and not do things is a skill unto itself. It's quite hard to do because the ego wants to do things. It wants to be stimulated. So all I did was to stimulate the mind. That's all I would do. I wouldn't stimulate the body. I used to be very active and I used to be extremely fit. And now I'm the opposite of that. And once you realize that in Hopi prophecy, they say that when the world speeds up, you've got to slow down. And what that means is when the perception of time speeds up, you're supposed to be slowing down and not being part of the world anymore because it's ending. We all have it in a sense. Control. Well, your zodiac, basically what your zodiac is, or your signs in your zodiac well, it's not even what people think. Once you understand the zodiacs are part of the brain, yeah, different parts of the brain, or the 12 zodiac signs, or the 12 trades of 12 tribes of Judah, or something like that. All these 12 tribes they're just different parts of the brain. That's all it is. So Gemini's at the front. I think it's at the front, the other left, or something like that. But if you've got different segments of the brain, right, and you're evolving consciously, just think that only your brain exists. And you've heard of the labyrinth, yeah? And what the labyrinth is, if you understand what the brain is, it's just a tube like a stomach. So you go in one end, and you go around this tube, and you'll come out another end, left and right. So once because science won't tell you this, but I'm telling you, your brain's a tube, just like the stomach's a tube. And that's your feminine brain, is your gut. That's your gut instinct. And this is your masculine brain, even though it's divided into feminine and masculine, yeah, but overall it's masculine. So it's a labyrinth. And when from your creation, from the get-go of the universe, you've been traveling around the labyrinth, getting close to the center, which is the black dot, then away from it, then close to it, then away from it. And you're just going like that, close to the center and away. And in these waves of doing this, you're going up and down as well. And that's what the labyrinth is. So when you're going throughout your chakras, really it's just in the brain, you're going around the labyrinth. So whatever sign you're on now, it's just because that's where you are in the brain. And what you're trying to do is get to the center. Yes, that's the center of the maze. That's the singularity point, the mind. That's what you're trying to get back to. The black dot. So everybody needs to get back to the black dot within their own head to know who they are. Once you achieve that, this all makes sense. And you're like, yay! If not, the ego will argue it. It'll call me an idiot and think I'm a psychopath and all these other things. But the truth is, the ego is the psychopath. The ego kills people. The ego is the evil. It's the ego beliefs that does all the damage. Yeah, and it judges things outside of itself. And it's those judgments, it's them. It's him, it's them. It's those judgments that create wars, hatred, and all the rest of it. It creates separation.
I mean, in the ideal world, you should just see God in your fellow
The one
people.
mind. That's
You know what I mean?
What you should say is yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I was told that it's weakness, it's naivety just to see love in people, but that some people saw that as a weakness in me because I had it early in my life, but then someone said to me, "Don't ever change because that's a quality, that's a strength, not a weakness." You know,
Definitely.
be kind, to be loving, to be supportive. You know, I suppose that's the coming of together. I mean, it's like when unity becomes conscious of itself, and we all come together to support, to love, to nourish. You know,
That's why I don't hate anything. If I had any hate, it would be for the ego. But I don't hate egos. I hate the belief the ego has in itself. That's what I hate, because it's that belief that creates all the problems. But I still don't hate it because I also know the divine plan and I know it has to be there. So is the black dot the piano gland, the pineal gland? I think that's trying to say.
Yeah.
No. So in your brain, the pituitary glands at the back. The pineal gland at the back and the pituitary glands at the front. The pineal gland is slightly higher. The pineal gland is slightly higher up than the pituitary gland. That's because that's the moon below the plane and that's the sun above. What you want to get to is the center, in between the optic thalamus. I'm pretty sure it's the massa intermedia. That's what it's called, the massa intermedia, in between the optic thalamus. And it's a little piece, they say it's an adhesion, a piece of skin. And they say not everybody's got one. So I think that is the earth-brain plane, and I think that is the black dot. So if you look at an image of the brain and you use an image where it's got the eye of Horus, the pupil of the eye of Horus is the black dot. That's the mind's eye, the pupil. So if you just get an image of the eye of Horus in the brain, and you'll see where the black dot is. That black dot is the mind. That's you, in essence. And that's you observing through your eyes, watching this world. Now, people think they're this body. And I'm like, okay, you know, when you do things, you can move your arm, yeah? And you think, I'm moving my arm. My question is how did you move your arm? If I do that, how did you do that? You just go, I just moved. I go, yeah, I understand. You just moved. But what did you do to make your hands move? Nothing. You didn't do anything. You make, oh, I just did. Well, you didn't though, did you? It did it anyway. You thought it, and then it did it. Then you understand that you're that black dot observing the vessel. And then you tell the vessel what to do, and it just does it. It's like magic. That's because it's not actually doing it. It's you see it doing it. Just like you see me and I see you, but really you're that black dot observing. That's all that exists, the black dot. So the black dot's also the mind for the universe. So what everybody's calling God or the mind, it's that same black dot. It's the same one. It is in your head and it's in every single cell. It's the same thing and it's everywhere. And it controls everything. And that's what I bow down to, and that's what I give gratitude and power to. I don't give it to man because man lies. The mind doesn't lie.
Brother, I have a confession, because when I first encountered your energy not that long ago, you threw me off balance just a little bit, because I was a little bit fearful of the date, and I thought, oh my goodness, you know. But when my senses came back to order again, it's a time of celebration. This is a time to be excited, not to, you know, because the normal reaction would be for some, I suppose, oh my God, it's the end of the world, you know.
I've got things to do.
Yeah. I've got a pack. Well, I don't know what to take with me. I mean,
well, the thing is, the preparation for it is already underway. People don't realize Babylon will collapse, it will fall, and it will fail. So all these people, the ones that people have, I want my car, I want to keep my house, all that's going. That'll be gone anyway. You're going to be left with nothing. The system's going to collapse. There's going to be no money. It's all going to collapse, and there's going to be nothing. Hopefully, that's what's going to happen. And then you've got earthquakes and tsunamis and volcanoes. So there's a lot of stuff going to be happening before the next October. So it's not like you're going to be sat there just going, what should we do? You're going to be forced. I hope that's what happens anyway. If not, then I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm wrong. All the patterns point towards this. And as time goes on, it'll start making more and more sense.
Do you want to take this next question regarding the pupil? The pupil. The goat has a square pupil. Capricorn rules Saturn. Satan. Capri goat. Off Saturn is the black cube. I don't know.
I know what he's saying. Okay, I would have to answer that in a post or in a long conversation. I don't think he's actually asking a question. I think he's making a statement.
Okay.
And I kind of agree.
All right, because this. Correct me if we're not on the same page, but I feel that this is going to be a series of Q&A. I think when we, our next connection, shall we say, brother, we'll just take on a lot of Q&A because that's, question, and that's been the hallmark of our platform and the core of who I am, and I think that sits very comfortably with you.
Oh yeah.
So
all there is questions. All you've got is every single thought you have is either a question or an answer. That's it. There's only questions and answers. So that's how I did it. I asked questions and then answered them, but using the one truth as the foundation, and then you find the answers.
And to be patient. I mean, it's like just it sometimes doesn't come immediately, right? And that's perfect. Oh, I find all the good ones when I'm not expecting it. It's just, a bit like your beautiful presence today, bro. We've just passed the hour and a half, brother. I mean, how does it sit with you and our viewers? Do you feel we want to go on a little bit more, or do you want to start wrapping it up a little bit? There's one more I've put there. It says, mind just thoughts when triggered to think. Mind just thoughts when triggered to think. Okay, it's
when mind just thoughts just triggered to think. I don't know what you're trying to say there. If you think of another way, the black sun, right? So what you call the black dot, right? So it's a melanin crystal below the plane of inertia is the black sun, and that black sun is the one mind. It then projects light out as the sun and the moon. The moon being your pineal gland, the sun being the pineal gland, your consciousness, and the moon being the pituitary gland, being your subconsciousness. You're never. That's why you can't take any credit. I can't take credit for anything. People thank us, and I'm like, look, I haven't done anything. My ego was shown the truth by the mind. So I give all power to the mind, and I'm just an observer, and it's showing me. And I'm the ego, and I'm talking to another ego that's talking or being controlled by the mind. So there's lots of egos, and they don't know who they are, and they're just being reminded. And because you do actually know who you are, the memories are there. But if anyone's got any questions or they'd like a theme or a particular topic to focus on, because the one truth's like a tree, and I went down to the roots to get all the answers. But every time you come up from the bottom and you come up to share the truth, you end up down a branch, and that branch then goes to a twig, and then smaller branches, and it's a really long topic. And I can get lost on these branches. So I can get lost on topics. So it's best if we've got a theme or something you want to talk about, and I can fill in all the gaps, or stay on a branch, or another branch, or climb. Depends on how you want to think of it. But as long as everybody can understand the foundations, the Taurus, in a cell, in the three fractals, then it's easy. You just fill in the details. When I hear people say, what many think otherwise, many thinks. Thinkings. I'm struggling with these questions here. When I hear what's being said, I automatically think otherwise. Otherwise, many things. I don't even understand that question. That doesn't make sense to me. That
It's,
if people
But-
can ask questions and they're asking questions, it needs to be a question that it's
I
best
think
to
there's
link.
there's an apology in order for that one. But yeah, no, I mean, some people are thinking out loud, and I get that. It's the, you know, but I was going to say, brother, it's been. I'm speechless. I'm really honored to be in your beautiful company. I won't thank you, but thank you anyway. You know, no, it is great. I mean, to come here because, you know, preparation for the. I mean, it's a celebration, so let's get excited about it. Let's sing, and you know, let's sing.
I can't wait.
Sing it, right? I mean, let's write
can't
some nice rap songs, and you know, and yeah, let's get colorful with it because
It's going to
not.
be good. The other thing is, right?
This event is going to be like it's being is this another one, a narrative like, you know, all our other brothers and sisters from our different constellations, they're observing this right now, so this
High levels of consciousness waiting for it.
yeah,
It's
I mean,
already
it's gonna,
done.
yeah,
You see, what do you understand, right? How long is a cell's life? Science and half load of bull, right? So forget science. If you look at the cell's life, it lasts 24 hours. And that would make perfect sense. So the universe only lasts 24 hours. If you look at I think it's the prima mobile rotates in 24 hours. So the cell's life and the universe life on the outside is 24 hours. So everything on the inside is just echoes. It's already happened. So this is now act. Oh, I lost you there. Left brain hemisphere is the ego. No, the left brain's just nah. See, I used to debate things with Morgan a lot, right? We used to have a lot of debates, and we should do this. So he would say something now, go, well, yeah, it is, but it's not really, is it? Because it's this. So yeah, the left brain is the ego. I wouldn't say it like that though, because that's just the left. It's masculine. I would say the pineal gland in particular is the ego. The pituitary gland is the subconscious. So your pineal gland's consciousness. The left and right side is the masculine, feminine side of consciousness. So your emotional side will be your right side, and your left side will be your masculine side, which is the ego side. But again, it's just masculine. Both sides are both ego. But the pineal gland in particular is the ego or the consciousness, and the pituitary gland is the subconsciousness.
well, it's been beautiful, brother. It'd be great to get together again. I mean, we can do this, you know. I mean, I will wait for a response from you, brother. You'll tell me.
Look, I've waited 7 years to finally. I had to wait for everybody else. I mean, I had to wait for that was patience. I had to wait for the rest of the world to catch up and be ready for this information. And now's that time. So you just tell me when you're free, and I'll just fill in the gaps.
I'm all the time. You know, I've got all the
Same here.
time in.
This
Thank
is my
you
point
so
being.
much, brother. I mean, it's been absolutely phenomenal, John. It's been. I'm speechless. I'm still. I'm quiet. I'm composed, excited, and I'm sure many, if not all, the listeners out there feel the same way. I mean, it's been great to be in your country, and we're getting some hearts sent to us as well. So that's beautiful as well. But yeah, I'll reach out, Rob. You know, and I'm here.
Well,
So
if
you yeah, you can
if
send
you
me
want
a
to make
seat.
it, if you want to make it a series, we can make it a series. So people can then tune in regularly and get the latest installment of Hypnosis. Because, like I say, it covers everything. So it depends on what
I mean,
people want to know.
the key areas are really natural law, right? I mean, you know, organic stuff. Excuse me for the glasses. I mean, it's to be conscious of, you know, what is synthetic, what is real, what's not real. You know, just balance things out, right? Because the fake looks pretty impressive. You know, there's a Rolex watch and there's a Rolex watch. You know, it's like it does mimic. It does look quite convincing, but that's a test. And not every action needs a reaction, right, brother? I mean, it's like,
Definitely
you know,
not. You don't need to react at all, in fact. That's why I respond and don't react. Responding is different to reacting. Reacting means you've got an emotional response added to it.
Yeah.
And I know the universe is going to end next year, so I really, really, really don't care. It's hard to push my buttons.
That's been wonderful, brother. So thank you so much. What's happened there? It's great. It's been brilliant. I'm speechless. I'm excited, and see you very, very soon. We're just going to end this, and kisses to you all, and see you again soon.
Thank you. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you.
Bioactivator would like to thank you for your kind support and donations. Through Barrett Tunian's guardianship of this platform, his activation of truth harmonizes, neutralizes, and unblocks the meridians that connect, balance, and purify all that comes in contact. Do no harm is the key that fully opens the heart's voice to be in the union of the I Am presence, and will represent every living organism on the planet whose voice would otherwise not be heard. Remember, the truth will set you free. Do no harm, cause no loss, and do not impose upon the freedom of others. Love, light, and